Okay, just turn on the mic. So.
I'm going to talk about.
Oh, right. Thank you. Yeah. So again, these are very basic questions.
As you remember, I suck at this. I'm not very good at this.
I don't remember that.
No.
We did it for.
I feel like I'm terrible at this thing.
What's the we are not.
We are.
We are what we are. That's right.
Yeah.
Like I confuse it with the Mexican title, the adapted.
I did okay English with that because it was so recent, and it involved eating people. So,
which is a very popular entertainment these days. You know, I mean, for a lot of shows.
Yeah.
You're great. You're great on that. I remember that was a very pleasant experience actually, up at that restaurant. What was it like the?
Is that was it Hollywood?
Planet Hollywood.
Planet Hollywood. Yeah, that's all. It was like interview after interview after interview.
Oh, it was unfortunate, but it was fun for me.
Yeah,
I got to meet everybody and.
That was actually getting it all done. Boom, like that was kind of great.
It's efficient.
Yeah,
I mean, right. I mean,
went from one thing to the next.
You haven't done that before in all the films?
Oh yeah.
I mean, press days are usually. Hal is showing Bill the calendar for promotional calendar. Sit down, Hal. Just
these are cool.
You move on.
Okay.
Beautiful. Wow.
Got plenty of questions. Here they are.
Oh, Gary Sauer. Oh, these are great.
It's too bad they're not naked. That would have sold a lot more.
June's my month. Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
That's the one photograph we found only recently of the three of us in the same picture.
Can't you just? There must be. Oh, right. You being there.
That's
too.
Martin.
Oh yeah.
It's
Martin.
Almost not a shot,
you and Adrian.
Wow.
So we were like looking all over for something like that from Trust, and we just couldn't find anything. And then I got about 5 years ago, I got this cachet of materials from London. This was a company, Zenith, who produced those films.
Mm-hmm.
And they went out of business in 2005, and it was only like in 2012 that their lawyers or something like that contacted me and said, there's a lot of material here in London that maybe you guys want, since you're the only participant who's still in existence. So they sent all this stuff, and it was like 6,000 black and white photographs that Chris Buck had taken.
Right.
All the negatives. So we just got on board and started scanning these negatives.
Right, and cataloging them.
So
great.
It's amazing.
She got mine to add to the collection.
Yeah, and yours, yeah. No, we have a lot.
All right, so get close, Hal. You're soft talker, soft speaker.
Yeah,
that's close.
This is Hal Hartley.
This is Bill Sage.
Welcome to the midnight hour.
Yeah.
A little soft jazz playing in the background. All right, here we go. All right, so state your name and your relationship with Hal Hartley.
Bill Sage. I'm an actor in Hal Hartley's films. And a buddy.
Okay, do you remember the circumstances of your first meeting? It doesn't have to be like the first time you met him, but just in general, when you first met Hal, roughly when that was.
I think I think it was at a maybe I think it was on set. I think it was just on set maybe for the No, that's not right. No.
I had seen you in plays.
Oh, that's all right. Right.
But where?
See, it's so long ago, Adam.
Yeah. Well, you once said in an interview not long, like last year, a couple of years ago, you thought that, like, Edie brought you to a party at my place, at one university place.
Yes, that's sort of what. That's where you had seen.
Bob.
You had seen me in a play, and that's now I remember. You had seen me in a play at my freshman year at SUNY Purchase, and. You had left me a note, and Edie knew who you were, Edie Falco, and we were dating at the time. And she said, "Oh, he's great. You'll love him." And then all these years later, at the time, Edie, then my friend, brought me to some party, and that's where I met you.
Yes, because by then we would have made. If I was living on one university, we would certainly have made The Unbelievable Truth by then, and I guess we had already shot Trust. So Edie and I had made 2 movies back to back.
Well, that party was before that, because that's where this was before that party was where I met Bob. So
I see.
You just finished, but I also did I did that small, just walking across frame with Gary Sauer or something. And
Of course,
Peter and
right,
Shelley,
yeah.
Mhm.
The Unbelievable Truth.
Yeah, Bill has like 2 like kind of hilarious one scene roles in both The Unbelievable
Oh,
Truth
right.
and in Trust.
That's
Yeah.
great. Okay, so here's where my due diligence.
This is archaeology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
we're excavating
That's
right now.
in The Unbelievable Truth, your part is you play a character named Gus, who doesn't require a
Okay.
name, because all you do is get into a shoving match, which is a recurring but a physical like running joke in your films, where guys just kind of push each other for no reason, or
It's a Long Island push fight.
oh, is that what it is? It's the Long Island.
Yeah, no, I remember
There's
now
a
because
term
I was like
for
the
it.
Staten Island version of this. One person punches and the other person just throws it, levels the other person.
That's
It was
sounds like a more
also
typical fight, actually.
the only sort of violent activity between guys
Yeah.
that we were in a position to do with any degree of confidence, because we didn't have any money. We didn't have anyone until we met like Jim McCauley, who had some skill.
No, Jim was in my
fight
acting company.
choreography,
Yeah.
But so I said, well, this is supposed to be ridiculous anyway.
Right.
Just machismo,
Yeah.
with the brakes on hard.
Yeah. There's something very ultimately non-threatening about a shoving match. It's like nobody's really going to get that hurt.
Right.
It's
Who's going to walk away first? That's the issue.
right. And everybody gets into every man in your film. And, well, in The Unbelievable Truth, anyway, gets into it, right? Like the dad.
I don't think
With the
anybody goes
boyfriends.
pushing Bob. Right?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Him and Vic Hugo, the late Chris Cook.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they get into a push-shove fight towards the end. What's his name?
What was your term? Long Island
Long Island push fight.
push fight. I like that. And then you play John Bill in Trust, where it's in the abortion clinic, right? Here.
Yeah, the great thing about John Bill was that you could do it sort of like, Bond, James Bond. John Bill.
Yeah, right.
Trolling abortion clinics.
Waiting rooms.
Abortion clinic waiting rooms. I mean, classy.
All these chicks are going to be depressed, and
I know.
they need somebody to pick them up. What are you doing afterwards? Gonna have a drink? Want to have a drink?
Smooth.
And that precedes the wedding
No, it's just-
Wedding Crashers by
that's
20 years.
It would just be, where are you going?
Yeah. That's
She's like, home?
home to lay down. So I don't hemorrhage.
Definitely don't want to hang out.
Try not to hemorrhage.
Okay. 2018.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of one of the great scene in It's Not Your Movie. It's the Wedding Crashers where
There were some funny scenes in Wedding Crashers.
oh my gosh, where
my God.
was it? I keep forgetting the Wright brother who
Would have been better if Hal Hartley directed it.
maybe
But it was good. It was good.
But anyway, what's his name? The blonde
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, not Luke, but Owen Wilson. So he comes into the house, and Will Ferrell comes down the steps. He's like, it's like the 4th chapter of this movie. It's like towards the end. And he no longer does wedding. He's like the god. He was got the picking up girls at weddings. Like he's like a legend, at that. And he's moved on though. He now works funerals, So anyhow. So those were your two.
I definitely gonna write that scene. The guy who trolls abortion clinic.
That was a. Did you? That's a great bit.
I can do that. That's my.
Okay, so did we answer that question then? I guess you met him at a party, and you were introduced. You saw him at a play, and then you were brought to a party where you were introduced. Is that what happened?
Right. I saw Bill
Edie?
in his freshman year at SUNY Purchase. And then, years later, it would have been like
I
5
think-
years later.
Yeah, because I remember after finishing Simple Men, I brought Edie back a pair of cowboy boots because we shot in Houston. Because I felt like, Hal had seen me in this play. And then, Edie sort of brought me back into the sphere. And
All right.
that's how so many things work. Just,
But you didn't. You weren't attending SUNY Purchase.
yes.
You
we
were?
all went
Oh,
to
you were.
SUNY
You were,
Purchase.
okay.
Pretty much a lot of us went to SUNY
Yeah.
Purchase.
Karen went.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were all.
Karen was in my senior film.
Yeah, the short.
Yeah, and I had directed her in a play.
Cartographer's girlfriend or dogs?
Kid.
Kid.
Oh.
Kid was my senior film. And I'd also, my junior, written a play, which was not part of the curriculum. I just kind of needed more writing exercise and particularly directing exercise. So I gave myself that project. And Karen and Pamela Stewart were in that with David Troop. Yeah. A lot of these people showed up in the other movies. I mean, David and Pamela showed up in Trust,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The Unbelievable Truth, and the short films. Yeah, so we were a crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
and if anybody, because there are other people like Nick Gomez was making, short films too while I was making short films, and Edie, and he did a lot of work in those short films.
Mm-hmm.
There
And
was always somebody.
early on when I had first met you, I remember you looking at me and like you looking at me and Burke. It's like I got this script. That was
Yeah, because the Simple Men was actually written before The Unbelievable Truth. It was written in like 87, 88.
Oh wow.
the first version of it. Which was
Yeah, a shorter version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much, a day in the life of these two totally different kind of brothers. But it was a road movie, and it wasn't appropriate for me to make for like $60,000, which is what we made The Unbelievable Truth for. So I set that aside. But then, as we were working more, and I got to know Burke, and then clearly got to know Bill more. I went back to work on it, and I think after we shot Trust, those guys in London, Zenith, said like, okay, we have a good thing going on here. We like working with you. Trust looks like it's going to be a successful movie and stuff like that. What do you have next? And I just went back to this original
Right. Yeah.
thing, and I spent 5 months maybe just writing on it and
Wow.
turned it into that. So it was very much, by then it was very much informed by what I knew about Bill and Bob and their kind of, your two different
Their
types
natures.
of characters. I mean, individuals too. They move at a different pace. They breathe at a different pace. I think they think in different shapes, and I could just hear the dialogue in my head very easily.
Yeah, I was going to say what happened from the first two films where you decided because Bill did play such a small role, and I mean it was in more of it than we see. But
Well, I think we were
and then
walking around each other for those films. I mean, Bill, I think you auditioned for The Unbelievable Truth, and you auditioned for Trust. I know you auditioned for Trust,
No, that I remember. Yeah.
for the lead,
Oh, okay,
before I found Martin Donovan.
right.
So I thought, there's something about the way this guy acts and how he moves and how he looks. This is something I could do something with, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you're not certain.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know how. It's easier at certain other kinds of things. With Edie, with Matt Malloy, for me at that time, I don't remember directing them because they were so on their game, and they had such an ease in their skin with the kind of characters they would play. They played different kinds of characters,
Sure.
but they were everything I just needed at that point. Just please take care of this. And, but some of the other characters, like the lead in Trust and the leads in Simple Men, were more complex kind of characters, and maybe only complex because I didn't quite understand them yet. I had to really write my way through them and into them to see what it was, and then directing them, directing actual people playing the characters teaches you a lot more about it. But,
Bill, there's a specific, obviously, style that is, part of that it makes a Hal Hartley movie. I mean, undeniably. Yeah.
Keep talking.
And so I was wondering if you since you were around on the set, and of course you saw the films, this is a superfluous question, I don't know, but did you understand what he was trying to achieve on the set? I guess it's hard, maybe that doesn't apply because you had such a small role in the first movie, but you got to watch, right?
As soon as I saw The Unbelievable Truth,
yeah.
I and I was new at the time, and it, unlike Edie and Matt Malloy, I think I wasn't as certain about where I fit in and what kind of characters I would be playing,
Mm-hmm.
even though in school I played, but I think it became clear to me from watching the films that this is what he's after, and this is how the humor works, this is how the scene works, this is, it's, so yeah, I think I did understand it
Mm-hmm.
just from watching.
Yeah, Donovan talks about how he felt very suffocated the first time.
Yeah.
Like you guys, there was a lot of tension because he just wasn't. He felt like your style and his were clashing, I guess, at first, and you guys had a tense time. And then, but he had when he saw the movie,
right.
Then he said, "Oh, I see what he's doing," and it really is. It's
Yeah,
new. It's innovative storytelling. So when he came back on his second time, it was
Survive
so
and
much.
Desire, yeah, it was just a laugh
right.
riot from beginning to go. I mean,
I don't know if you're being
yeah,
sarcastic
Martin just
or not.
could not believe that you didn't need to make as much facial expression as those successes. Like, no, really, it's
Yeah.
all there. Believe me,
Mhm.
this machine with the camera is like a lie detector thing. You just put it on somebody, and like there's this thing I've told before. I mean, Adrian was 23, 24 at that. She was still kind of jittery
Mhm.
girl a lot of the times, and I needed her to be still, here. She kind of understood that intellectually when she read the script, but I had her, the first day of rehearsal in the studio, I had her sit in a chair for an hour without moving. No cigarettes, no soda. Sit still for an hour.
Yikes.
Tears. Recrimination. She ran out. Whatever. She called me later and I apologized. But I mean,
She couldn't. How long did she last?
she lasted a full hour, but
Oh,
she
she
was
did?
really, she was tougher than she looked.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so frustrating. And I think she distrusted me or something. Like, why are you being like weird and artistic like this? But it wasn't. I was just. She admitted that she did learn from it about this stillness. And when I've been watching those films a lot
Mm-hmm.
recently, of course. Yeah, I mean, she achieved it. There's some really beautiful scenes there with her. She's just kind of this stillness in the center.
Mm-hmm.
I think young actors mistake it for non-emotional. That when you're a young actor, you come into it and you've had a certain kind of training, and you're emotionally finding things and all this kind of stuff. And then you come into this kind of work, and it's more contained.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt for myself that all the same stuff can be there, all the pain and rage and heartache and all these things, but you can put a lid on it, and you can really just like keep all that stuff that's going on and just look over here and look over here.
Right, I get you.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's I couldn't have said it at the time, but I mean, after all these years, I think it's what we did then, and I still do with actors, is turn all that emotion into activity.
Mm-hmm.
Not action necessarily, like we think of actions, fist fights and car chases, but activity, like you're saying, look over here, look over there, pause before you bring the cup to your lips, put it back down, and so I spend a lot of time working with the actors now to delineate the emotion through physical activity. And sitting still is a physical activity. doing nothing.
Does it make it great cinema, though?
It can, because
yes.
mostly like with pop music and stuff like that, for me,
Mm-hmm.
what doesn't move me about cinema is just too much mediocrity, too much activity, too much expression, too much.
Well, clearly. Yeah.
Whereas if you make the effort to restrain, is a good thing, but really to delineate, to just find what's actually essential to expressing the emotion, because emotion really is all we're trying to get across.
Mm-hmm. But most people are used to seeing that done by people crying and laughing or intensely, engaging with each other.
The norm.
Yeah,
Excess
well, that's
has
for
become
sure.
the norm.
But you can't also deny your films go an extra step in the other way. I mean, they're very minimalist in that way, in a way that most films that are even toned down are not. The characters barely look into each other's eyes at times. Right?
Yeah, because I'm always thinking of that third set of eyes, us.
Right.
Just always a triangle in a movie, or even on the stage. I mean, there's always the two actors looking at each other.
There's like a Hal Hartley world that, like the David Mamet kind of world. Who's some of the David Mamet actors? Who am I thinking of?
I guess Dustin Hoffman. No, kidding.
No.
I meant Al Pacino, but I'm kidding.
No, the House of Games, or I'm just thinking.
I know. I'm blanking now on this guy's name.
He was just an incredible Mamet actor, but
because he got the language, he understood.
Yeah, so man was just like, well, I just write things the way that people talk, and he says, no, that's how we talk.
Yeah,
that's not how people talk.
Yeah.
It's the Mamet world. So there's a Hal Hartley world.
Right. Absolutely. That's right. And then I guess
he may not know that. But
Well, I think I'm always having conversations about it. One of the things that often makes me think a little bit more about trying to find the right words to talk about this stuff is when people say, "Oh, they're overacting." I'm like,
oh,
and they say, "Oh, people don't overact in your films." I'm like, this is beside the point, overacting or underacting. I mean, sometimes, is Adrian not overacting when she's achieving this highly unnatural stillness as Maria in Trust?
right.
I mean, this is very unnatural,
well,
but it speaks
sorry.
it speaks to something very real about the human condition, and so sometimes you have to be more extreme. So we know overacting in the sense of just
overacting is a type
big
of
emotionalism, big obvious emotionalism.
Well, yeah, it's one type of acting that draws attention to your acting. There's different ways of doing that. In your films, the actors do different things to, occasionally, which draw attention to the fact that they're acting in a film, which I think has I don't know, I think that has, a certain amount of legitimacy.
It's Brechtian. It comes from Brecht. All of this stuff comes from Brecht.
Oh, I don't know.
That was where really, he was the first, he didn't feel like he was inventing anything in the 19-teens and the 20s and stuff. But he was amalgamating different strands of artistic expression, and he wound up with this thing, and he said, don't make it obvious. And it's not only okay, it's like really cool if the audience sees that you're an actor trying to act the part of a mechanic. But you're a college-educated person. So that's where it all comes from. I mean, from Fassbender and Godard to me, if I may put myself in there.
I was going to say, wow.
I
like your confidence.
Who am I to say, but you may.
All right, let's see. What did you guys talk about on the? Do you remember the in order to achieve? I guess you gave some examples with Adrian.
What did we talk? Yeah.
Were there conversations? I mean, by
Simple Men.
Very, really minimal, really helpful conversation. We didn't go on and on about this. I knew what he meant. I knew what he was talking about, and I like to think that I got it.
Mhm.
I mean,
You did. And that's when I started thinking more in terms of activity. So that's really what you remember all the time. You would say like, "Oh yeah, Dennis wouldn't just answer the question; he'd think about it first."
right.
You know, he'd go through the whole.
Was a real act. That was a real, and that worked for me at that time, particularly. I mean, very kind of thoughtful before. I always say that the center of the if there's any character there, the center of the Dennis, who Dennis is it's not just me, but it's me and the many being a military kid in the new class, and the new kid, and every year we moved every year. So Dennis is literally charging forward and then stops and hesitates and thinks things through and then charges again.
Right.
You know, that's Dennis McCabe.
Right, Dennis McCabe was
Against Bill, meaning
Bill
Bob
McCabe.
Burke's
Right.
character,
Bill
who's
McCabe,
like completely emotional, really, just bursts. He doesn't
Right.
think about anything he says or does. He justifies everything,
Right.
but he doesn't think about it.
He's Donald Trump.
Yikes, all id, I guess, right? Is that where
Yeah,
we
I'm a little out of that league, the psychology lingo.
But Brecht is your go-to. That's okay.
Yeah, he was always suspicious of psychology.
Who?
Brecht.
Oh, we're back to Brecht.
There's no escaping Bertolt.
Bill, were you a acting major? You were an acting. You must have been an acting major at SUNY Purchase, right?
Yeah, there's a
Because you were
BFA
in
program.
There was a film department too, right? That's where
Right,
you were.
and
you were-
Hal
okay.
had so Edie and Bob. So Bob was there the full
Yeah,
4
Bob
years
and
you
I
there
were
in the
the
same
class
year.
of '84. We were in the
Right.
same year. We graduated in '84. Edie was a couple of years after
Couple
us.
years,
I
and then
think.
I was after that. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I had just missed Hal. So
Oh,
part of it was getting.
didn't even
I
overlap.
had to get familiar with Hal
hmm
after graduating.
Interesting how the community, is so tight that you didn't even overlap, but you end up so connected.
Particularly
because of
at that time in particular, there were a lot of. I think it was a pretty impressive.
The
age.
continuity was great.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
our
What was?
teachers, the continuity
Oh,
was
okay.
in the film department.
Sure.
As soon as you graduated, the teachers gave you a list of last year's
Oh.
student graduates and student graduates
They were like
before
the
them, and just said,
social media network.
try to get you work.
That's amazing.
Just call these numbers, and that's what you do. The
Wow.
first thing you do is get a phone answering machine, plug it in, and you call all these numbers, and then if you're lucky, a couple of weeks later, somebody, I remember Eric Mandelbaum calling me.
Mendelsohn.
No, Eric.
Mandelbaum.
Oh, it's a different guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
different
a
guy.
different
Huh?
Yeah, Mendelssohn I didn't know until I met him through Edie. years
Right.
later.
Mendelssohn
Yeah, he was good
was
friends with me.
very important filmmaker actually,
Yeah.
and teaches at Columbia. And
Who? Oh, Eric Mendelsohn. No, I
yeah.
know.
And
Yeah.
he was in Edie's year.
Right. She talks about that, and of course, she's done two of his
Judy
his feature
Berlin
films.
and Three Backyards.
Three Backyards.
Yeah.
Two terrific films.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but
Also-
then some upperclassman, some guy or girl who, graduated 6 or 7 years before you would call up and say, like, are you free to be a production assistant next week, Wednesday through Friday?
Mhm.
It's $100 a day. You'd say, yes, and you go. And I think it was very much the same with the actors.
As a matter of fact, when I went to the set of The Unbelievable Truth, I thought I was going to be a PA. I was ready to go.
Really?
Yeah,
What?
I thought I was going there to PA. It's like,
Oh, I see.
oh, good, I get to
Be on
push
the
somebody.
Yeah, do the scene, and then can you please carry these wires back to that truck? Thanks.
Well, we were used to that. I did like 8 student films when it was at SUNY, and that you just were part of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. Edie also talked about that. It seems like so just practical. Also, that those two departments would lean on each other. It makes complete sense, But I wonder if also because they were so there weren't a lot of film schools at that time, right? I mean, they
Not
were
like there is
starting
now.
to,
Yeah,
right,
but there was
nothing
starting.
like there is now. But there was New York, NYU, and Columbia certainly. I
Yeah.
mean, so it wasn't like New York City was.
Yeah. SUNY Purchase was put together as an alternative to the wealthy schools.
Oh,
It was aimed at working class people. They wanted to be a world-class art school for working class people.
Right.
So it was a State University of New York university, which meant that the prices were reasonable.
Yeah.
And if you were a New York State resident, you could
Yeah.
apply for a New York State guaranteed student loan, which made it possible for people like me to go.
Same
I mean,
here,
it
same
was,
here.
I mean, I finally paid off my student loan when we were making Trust, I think. Or maybe Simple Men. I remember I was living down on Chambers Street. I wrote the last check. I couldn't believe it. This one thing, I had to pay like
It's the last stub.
$140 every month.
That's what I did with my Simple Men proceeds. I paid off my student loan.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Can you imagine you couldn't do that today? You
It's
couldn't-
incredible when
you
have the
it's-
younger people come and interning and working for me, and we get into these conversations about what they want to study and how much it costs. It's just insane. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I do know. I mean, their families go into grave debt.
Right. Yeah.
But we didn't have to do that. We didn't have that much money. I started out with a little bit of money from Social Security, which my mom had accrued when she was alive. She died when I was 10. So, but she had, worked 20 years and, and always paid into her Social Security. So her kids under the age of 18 were
They
the recipients of that.
continued
So
getting
my
it.
sister and I had a little bit to start with, and that would have gotten me through like the first semester.
Yeah, right.
But it was a start. But then I learned about this. I have a great neighbor who's 97 now, Elizabeth, who, she was my friend's mom, and she just sat me down at our kitchen table and taught me how to fill out these loan applications, the state of New York, and actually drove me to my interview at SUNY Purchase. It's some nice older
Wow.
people around who just help you
Yeah.
along the way.
That's great.
But SUNY Purchase it did have a different vibe in the films that were made there, and I think a lot of the theater that was made there had a different vibe because it was, at least the school itself saw itself as
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but a socialist alternative
Oh.
to
Absolutely.
the wealth-driven education corporate businesses.
Mm-hmm.
NYU is a huge business.
Right.
Columbia is a huge business.
They're real estate. I mean,
Alone. They're real estate alone. And it's not to say great things don't get accomplished at those places, but Purchase was definitely geared towards working class. They had an idea that there's a part of American culture that is not getting in to the culture, in a sense, the artistic culture,
Right. That's something over there that those people
Right.
participate
Novels
in.
are always about university professors or corporate executives or famous rock stars or something. But are they about middle class people in the suburbs?
No, and it sends a message to working class, middle class people that, well, that's not for you.
Right. Sure.
You'll go into the military,
Yeah, right.
which I was ready to do, and
Or you
or
were.
you'll go be a cop. I was from a military family, so
Right.
I was right
Why
out
did
of
you
high
choose
school.
acting, though?
Was
Yeah.
ready to enlist, but I got into college, and what's that?
Oh, and your parents were supported. They wanted you to go to college and not go into the military. Do you think? Or
They were supportive of. My father was. He wanted me to go to. He wanted me to. I mean, he would say things that was like, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" I'm going to go to college, and what are you going to study? Because when I first graduated, I went to the University of Rhode Island, which at the time you could get money to go to an out-of-state school,
Right.
and that it really got slashed in the Reagan administration completely, and that's really why I left the University of Rhode Island. There's just all of a sudden the tuition changed.
Oh wow!
It skyrocketed, and there was no aid, no the Pell, the TAP, all that stuff was really work study drastically changed. Mm-hmm. You weren't encouraged then to, but luckily I found a different interest, and and I was new to acting, and auditioned for the school and got in.
Do you remember?
And I got into NYU and Carnegie Mellon as well, but I wasn't gonna get fuck that up again,
Meaning go and then be able to stay because you couldn't afford it.
I remember Carnegie Mellon offered a certain amount of money, and so did NYU, but I wasn't gonna trust it, So
Mm-hmm.
I thought, but SUNY was better anyway.
Yeah, they had a great.
No offense to
Tom Ryan went to Carnegie Mellon.
Well, he got poorly educated. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I know. He was on the show and he barely could put a sentence together.
I know. I feel bad for him.
Sad. Hashtag sad. Should we pause?
Yeah, let's pause. We'll bring Bob in this.
Okay, great.
Sorry, 3. I know you got to beat.
The way I approached it, FYI, was that I had spoken to a few of the other actors on the phone, and I this is not typical the way I normally do, but I asked them. I had these questions already, and I thought I'd ask everybody the same questions, and then splice it together as kind of a montage,
a mashup.
A mashup. That's right. That's what the kids.
Parlance.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anyway, it's like I say, it's not typical. Usually, it's like just ongoing, rambling kind of conversations. So I'll release it as like that kind of a mashup approach. Specifically, promote the box set and the trilogy,
all of us talking
and then
over AC/DC. Oh no,
and then also it may be individual segments as well, like at some other time. So anyway, I asked Bill I don't know if we finished, but we'll catch up with you, Bob. Right. First of all, just because this is going to be the beginning of it, to state your name and your relationship with Hal.
I'm Robert Burke, and I was a colleague of Hal's at the State University of New York at Purchase, and subsequently went on to work with Hal numerous times.
And you, right,
just trying to get that going.
Hell's Bells?
Hell's Bells.
Hell's Bells. Sorry. That's all right. Do you remember the circumstances meeting Hal originally, like your first encounters?
I think when I first met Hal, we were both students. He was in the film department. I was in the acting program. And at that time, as actors, you were furnished to the film program for different, classes. One was called Scene Directors Workshop. And I remember we collaborated on a Joycean.
It was Joyce.
Short story. It was The Dead, was it?
No, The Boarding House.
The Boarding House.
Wow.
But from that collection.
Yeah.
But Molly
Bloom.
Not
Molly
Ringwald,
Bloom.
Molly
Bloom.
McMillan.
Person. Oh,
McMillan was
Yes.
This actress.
I thought you meant a character in the
No,
Molly
no.
Bloom is Molly. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, so we met, and I knew Hal, and then I think a little later on, a colleague of Hal's in the film program, Steve O'Connor, was shooting his maybe junior film, and Hal was working the camera, and we worked on that project. And then, I don't know if we did anything more collegiately, but then after graduation, Hal reached out and told me about The Unbelievable Truth.
Right. Again, his first film, right? And what was the process for getting going on that film and you're being cast in it?
I don't know. We'd kind of been, I guess, peripherally in touch over those years. I think it was 4 years after graduation that you began production, 1988.
Yeah, it was the summer of 1988. And I guess you and I bumped into each other in that spring or that summer. I think I already had it I knew it was going to happen somehow. And then we met. I seem to remember that we met by accident. on the street.
We did.
In Midtown.
We did.
You
In
were doing work.
Midtown, I was doing construction work. I put acting on the shelf for a while. And when the exact time that Hal told me about The Unbelievable Truth, I was building a deck on a roof on the Lower East Side. And I said to him, well, how long will the film take? And he said 11 days. I thought, why so long? I didn't have any point of reference.
Did you think it was a short film? No.
I couldn't tell you the difference between a short film or a feature-length film at that time. I just knew he was going to be going to work for 11 days, and I'd have to take away that time from a construction job. And I also remember that it was 99 degrees every single day I worked that week. And I thought, well, acting's got to be easier than this. So...
Well, I'm kind of curious with you both. Like, you both were in the acting class or program. Who did you aspire to? Who were did you have even influences at the time? Can you remember or recall them? Like, what kind of actor? I'm kind of trying to get at what kind of actor you saw yourself as or becoming or would like to become.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Okay.
I suppose like the usual suspects to a certain degree. I mean,
Yeah, because you grew up in the 70s, right?
De Niro,
Right.
the Al, those people. I mean, they were Gene Hackman. I think people that played a bunch of different characters.
It makes sense. I mean, you grew up. Your formative years were the 70s, and so you would have. That's who you would have been exposed to, right? The most, right?
Probably De Niro for me, because I think that there's something about seeing Taxi Driver. I think for a lot of young actors, they're like, oh, that's a possibility. Just the subjectivity of it.
Yeah. I the highlight of my doing well. This is the highlight. It's certainly one of my highlights is getting you all guys together in one room. I should have said that before, but it's a thrill. But another one was talking to Paul Schrader. That was unbelievable. Anyway, so I don't know. Did you have an answer to that? Did you?
I guess like Bill, Robert De Niro, those 70s, very early 80s movies were very strong.
Yeah.
Usually with a lead male character who was very subtle. And so Robert Duvall, I think, really made an impression on me because there was with all the metaphors or what have you, there was a truth to his work, and you thought this guy is inhabiting a role rather than you couldn't see any of his gears working. But even who did I glean from? Jackie Gleason. I swear to God.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing. Yeah,
the shtick, the comedy, the truth. He's going to hammer it home. He's going to shove it down your throat in terms of presentation. And I always admired that he was a visceral. Then you subsequently find out that I never knew his lines, and
incredible. And he played funny man and straight man in the same.
Absolutely.
He'd start the skit as with Alice, he's the funny man, and then with Art Carney, he's the straight man.
And all of a sudden, you're completely sympathetic and empathetic with him. And
yeah.
But there are definitely scenes in The Honeymooners where you think, like, this guy's a psychopath.
Total psychopath.
I mean, Ralph is a psychopath.
I'm going to punch my wife in the
dangerous
face so hard she's going to go to the moon.
And he seems to mean it. For a split second, he seems to mean it.
Yeah, no, he's all in.
Hey, Bob, do you remember Bob Costas? I was thinking when we were shooting Simple Men, Bob Costas had
interviews.
that show and he did a double with Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 3.
Oh, right.
And Bob and I we were
in different hotel rooms.
No, he was in the next hotel room, but we're on the phone. I can't tell you, I can't get enough of this. This is unbelievable. Yeah,
I remember what Duvall said in one of those interviews, and he was talking about George Raft and these types of guys. John Garfield, and he's like, I didn't think they were very good actors at all. And Costas is like, why not? He goes, well, people didn't talk like that. Maybe they did, but there was such a style to them.
Sure.
Hey, Jimmy, come on over. He goes, I don't know that people spoke like that. So there was this, style that. Anyway, Duvall was just infinitely, compelling to listen to. speaking about acting. And critics, when he went off on critics. Where do they go? Do they go to college for critic school? Do they get a critic diploma?
Right.
And it was just wonderful because he's speaking for actors,
Right.
He was great.
Well, it's funny you brought up that stylized way because, of course, the first decades of cinema were theater actors, and they were kind of trying to create these same type of theatricality, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then the School of Realism really did come with a very young Robert Duvall and his peers, maybe even a little earlier than that, right? But and then you find yourself in these films that Hal was making at the time, which were stylized to a degree as well. Certainly, the dialogue. Do you agree with that? The
dialogue goes
acting.
back to the George Raft kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, in my head, I'm like equal parts Moliere.
It is,
and Jimmy Cagney. Even the girls who are in my movies, they'll say like, "You write the girls to talk like guys in gangster movies." This is,
that's right. Listen to Edie Falco's dialogue. Absolutely true.
So I don't know where that comes from. I mean, I was very enamored of Duvall too. Tender Mercies was a film I watched for I think 10 times in a row. It was a 99-cent movie theater when I was in college. And that kind of, again, it has the stillness that we were talking about in terms of I insist on certain performances.
Yeah, but unlike that film, which has a lot of sentimentality to it, there's none in the Hal Hartley movies.
But the sentiment is restrained.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find it overly...
Not in the performance.
No emotional exhibitionism or anything like that.
No, okay.
But it was,
right.
No, it makes you cry. Yeah.
No, he just says, I was thinking about we getting married, and that's a proposal,
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's really...
Mm-hmm.
In Tender Mercies, one of the moment I remember, he's teaching the kid how to play the guitar, and he goes, E minor, back to D as in dog. That's it. And I'm like, it's just so moving.
You were in
so
tears.
Quiet. Yeah. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah, well, that was about a certain type of people, too. And I think Duvall is that kind of actor, was that kind of actor. I mean, he'd study those people, what they're like. I'm sure he did that kind of work.
No, he does a great, he oscillates between real New York kind of, he understands that really well inside and out. I mean, his stuff that he did with The Godfather and all the Texas kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It just occurred to me, after I work with Hal on my first feature film, I work with Robert Duvall.
Get out of here.
That's right, Ramblin' Rose.
Ramblin'
Oh,
Rose.
yeah.
I couldn't eat for approximately 3 days.
Before,
I'm not kidding you, I was that fucking nauseous with nerves. and it went fine.
It did.
Yeah, I guess.
Because he wanted you to succeed too, probably, right?
Well,
I mean, he's not
didn't
looking
care
at
about me. His frisbee was thrown further than his trailer would allow, and he said, "Hey, Haas, grab that." And I was like, "Of course."
Yes,
and I ended up playing frisbee, and then we watched an early released, 6 of the 10 Civil War, the Ken Burns.
Oh, wow.
He came outside one day. He goes, "Hey, Haas, you like history?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You like the Civil War?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Come on in." So I sat there and watched it, and while I was looking at the screen, I can remember just trying to steal,
Yeah, right.
He's a very nice man, very intense, and he's not talking about a golf game or cigars or where he lives. He's talking about the fucking work and the scene we're going to do later. And
he's a funny guy too, right? I mean,
I guess he can be.
Well, I just remember. Well, funny.
Not if you're scared to death.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I just remember I was at a. I only went to this thing because it was Robert Duvall. I was at doing a roundtable thing I didn't have any. It wouldn't help me at all, But it was him and Sissy Spacek, and afterwards I was walking out of the room, and there's Sissy Spacek. I was alone with her, so I got to just walk over and kiss her hand, which was a fun for me. But and then I heard Duvall coming down the lobby after me, and he just said, "Miss Spacek."
Spacek.
Yeah, he called her Spacek. It was just probably the original way you pronounced her name in the old countries. Basic.
You pronounced my name Haas. That's all they ever called me. Go figure.
Haas.
My Robert Duvall story is he's taking a little lady out on a spin. The broken spoke two-stepping. This is true, actually. And we're two-stepping, and like, oh shit, that's Robert. That guy looks just like Robert Duvall. That's Robert Duvall.
Where was this?
The Broken Spoke in Austin, Texas.
Oh, in
No
Austin.
shit. He loved to dance.
He did. He was good.
Yeah.
Two-stepping's
You,
pretty easy.
your dancing was, Bill, was...
Abysmal.
I was both surprised by
The ballet.
in that
It's
movie
ballet.
was...
It's ballet.
And you had a moment very reminiscent of the French New Wave, right? Like, was
Oh, and Simple Men?
the Simple Man, was that a
Yeah.
nod when Martin, Bill, and Alina, was
Every
it?
one of us danced.
Were you danced?
Yeah, no, Karen
Did you
and
dance?
Bob
Yeah,
are
but
in
you
the
had
foreground.
you were
kind of
great. You guys had a different.
Yeah, that was. I mean, we knew in the script it just said they break into dance. So I knew. I was imagining even the script stage. I guess we've now made a 30-minute movie that moves really quietly and by careful steps. There's a lot of suspicion and stuff like that. And then now there are boys and girls together. Night is coming. It's got to burst, and I had that line of Martin's, I can't stand the quiet. And then I just I think I just wrote in, because they break into dance. And because I wanted it to be kind of an ellipsis, which immediately just shifted us like 6 hours later. And so we didn't really know what it was going to be. I figured we'd come up with something. And then Elena came up with this dance.
Oh, she choreographed it.
In a way, yeah, she did choreograph it. She, it was something. This move,
It was an African dance that
An
she
African-
was taking
Oh.
African dance, so she
put something that
brought
Travis
this back.
Preston was doing. She was
Yeah.
working with Travis Preston at the time, and they had learned these moves. And then, of course, the costume girls had put her in this Frenchified striped
Yeah,
thing, and
that's right.
and with that
The
haircut,
haircut,
I just
the
was
bangs.
feeling kind of French.
Yeah.
But then, we threw a lot of different cultural notations in there. I mean, we became friendly with Sonic Youth, and they gave us a song. And so a lot of different types of things came in there.
Right. Blending together. All right. Bob, I was going to say, what was your first collaboration, but I guess we touched on that. Did you get? Did you have specific conversations with Hal about this style that he was trying to which is very stripped down? Did you guys remember? Do you remember talking to him about that, or is it just?
I don't ever remember Hal saying, I have a style. Do you know what I mean? I remember him constructing scenes and the dialogue being, bereft of anything extraneous. And I remember it just coming out that way. So it was, he's got a style. Well, he doesn't show up with a fucking style. Do you know what I mean? We're just working this through for this vision, this image, and these images, and it's just coming out a certain way, I never felt like you were...
Yeah, you have to just trust the dialogue, and I think all these people who I worked with, they got that. Like, yeah, it's all here in the dialogue. What people are saying to each other conveys the story and the clashes of interest and whatever. There's a certain kind of clarity of intention that I appreciate, which I think I get from classic American movies. And I think when you look at these guys and Martin Donovan and other, from those years, I mean, to a certain extent, a lot of us also grew up watching Henry Fonda and Spencer Tracy. And,
Gary Cooper.
yeah.
A little earlier.
So there was there's a certain idea of, masculinity that's also sensitive, and not totally certain. I was kind of interested in that. This kind of,
Yeah.
I mean,
That
Bill, Bob's
Right.
character in Simple Men, I think, is probably where I took it the furthest. A guy who's being very confident on the outside about who he is as
Yeah.
a man and all that. But the story shows you that there's a lot going on.
Yeah. You chose to, in the classic Hollywood kind of mode where he drives off and, doing what he has to do, right? Even though he's leaving Karen's character behind, but then he comes back for love, and that last moment's very, very, very touching, actually, where, you just put your head on her shoulder like that, or on her chest. And,
The movie begins with the line, don't move, and it ends with the line, don't move.
oh,
And I was cognizant of that.
Yeah.
cognizant. I went, "Hey, that's the same thing I said." I was like just staring at me.
You read that one.
You can't get anything past Burke, man. He's alert about everything.
Sooner or later, I'll figure you out. But
I used a lot of, what's the critical term, tropes, idea. I learned a lot about Western movies or at my last couple of years at Purchase, and then afterwards I watched Westerns very closely because I was interested in how our ideas about ourselves as Americans and our society and stuff like that were, kind of popularized and shaped by these. So, I mean, a lot of that even comes into something, and people have commented on this actually, about like trust is shaped like a Western, even though it's about a young man and a girl in the suburbs. It's very much a domestic melodrama, but it has a Western shape. There's a point where the bad guys do something, to the hero's friend, and he kind of turns her. And I kind of inverted a lot of these ideas, these standard kind of ideas from Westerns.
Well, even though these guys, both Bill and Bob in Simple Men, right? That starts at the bank robbery, doesn't it? Is that the one? Or am I screwing that up?
Bob and his girlfriend and
right, yeah. That very much starts off like like as a Western kind of structure.
This one, Simple Men.
Yeah, like with the robbery. These guys are like they're.
It is worth pointing out again that this was the first script written.
Butch Cassidy.
Three.
Right, yeah.
Simple
But
Men
it was in a
written
very
before
different. You also said it was in a very different form, though. But,
it wasn't a different form. It was just a shorter form.
Oh, okay. So you just
expanded it.
There was in the original script, Bob and I were robbing a liquor store. I remember. And then we're running down the
right,
something like that.
That had to be.
He coerces the younger brother into.
I had not remembered it actually.
And we watched. Was it Red River? Red River.
Howard Hawks.
Right. Just was
We
like
watched
a
it in Hal's
kickoff.
house, did we?
I thought we watched it in Houston. We had like a kickoff. Like
we were
before or
down in
something.
Houston for a while.
You had us watch something at your place
Probably
prior to shooting. I remember one night. I can't remember what it was.
So that is one of my questions. Like if you guys watched anything.
Yeah.
Well,
we
Red River. Yeah,
Red
I
River.
remember. That's been a big, important film to me.
That's an
since
interesting.
my college years.
I love that movie also because it does take like the old New Hollywood. It's with the Montgomery Clift, right, and John Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine what that
Jesus God, no.
what that must have been like for the two of them to try to
Books
meet in the
have
middle?
been written about it.
You never know, Mm-hmm. I mean, immediately I said, I hear John Wayne going, "Get that son of a bitch."
Yeah.
But you never know. It could have been a wonderful.
Right,
I don't know
that's
anything
true.
about the dynamics of the work.
No, he had a problem. Wayne had a problem with Ireland, John Ireland,
Oh, no
Played-
kidding.
because they were both into the girl, like Offset.
Oh, wow.
Into the same girl.
Which
And-
was not the.
Who was it? Do you remember?
Joanne Drew
Oh.
is the young lady. In
Good
it.
for you.
Yeah. Oh no, that's good. Like Red River is kind of like the Bible to me. I mean, most things I
Yeah, we watched it.
trace about my own filmmaking in terms of character and situation.
Yeah,
Goes back there.
that was my dad. That is my dad's favorite Western, I think, too. Anyway.
Good one.
Yeah. So did you guys meet? Remember, like originally meeting, and was that because you were in different classes also, right? Different years,
Yes.
right? So at SUNY Purchase and
Actually, we weren't at SUNY together.
No, we were not. No,
You didn't
we,
overlap.
We weren't at the same time.
Right.
But I met Bob at a party, right? I mean, and one thing you gave me a shirt because I was like at that I was underdressed, so he said,
Was it
"Take
the
this."
shirt off my back?
It was the shirt off.
what a mensch.
So he did a very older brotherly thing to do. It's like, yeah, you're underdressed.
Did I really?
You really did.
Well,
And
what
I
were
got
the
it.
circumstances? Was I at the party and took it off, or?
No, you just had an extra.
You walk
It was
around-
probably Blair's idea.
That's the kind of guy he is. He brings extra clothes to parties.
Honey, come on, we'll be late. Oh, and bring an extra shirt, will you?
Well, you might have had auditions.
Blair's a
or-
caretaker. It might have been Blair's idea. Give him that extra shirt you have. He said,
Were you wearing like an
It's
undershirt?
probably a T-shirt. It was probably like this out
Right. like
or colder. It was probably snowing. And I had a
Oh
T-shirt
God,
on.
that's.
Do you remember at the what the reaction after you made? I guess it would have been. Well, you were Bob. You were there from the beginning. You were in Unbelievable Truth. Well, I know Bill. You were in there too, of course, but you had a much smaller role in that particular film. But do you remember what the critical and the popular response was to the films? Do you remember being surprised? Did you go to some of the festivals? I know that. Which one won the screenwriting award at Cannes? Which was the? Remember?
No, Henry Fool won the screenplay.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that was years later. Never mind. But
we were
but these
nominated. This one, The Unbelievable Truth, was nominated at Sundance for Best Film.
And you were at Toronto.
Toronto, I think we got like the audience love fest.
The festivals loved these movies, though, right? I mean,
by and large, Toronto. Nobody wanted this film for anything for a year.
Okay.
We'd like hanging around, like going, all right. I can't tell you how many times I carried those cans around to different distributors and stuff, only to have to go back and get them again and bring them back.
Well, we were in competition at Cannes.
But then all of a sudden, Simple Men was in the main competition at Cannes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but 2 years later.
Okay. Yeah.
By then, but at the beginning, it took a long time. No one knew what to make of The Unbelievable Truth for a year, and then it was like cast at the 11th hour in Toronto, and they sent me a ticket. I went by myself. And I got there, and we were on the front page of the Globe and Mail, the main newspaper. It was a really popular thing, and then our careers kind of started.
Yeah.
I remember you called from up there, and you said,
which was no small task for me at that time. International dialing.
Accept a call from Hal Hartley? No, God damn it, I won't. But he said, the response is really great, and they're very cinematically literate audience, Toronto, and obviously still are and always were. But he said the response has been really, really, really great, and that was such a relief. I was such a neophyte, what have you. I had no idea, like at no point of reference, like, oh, good, that means, what does it mean? It means somebody liked the movie, and then.
But no context. Yeah,
no context at all, and then. Going out to Sundance where they really, really liked the movie. And, I remember you meeting with distributors and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, by the time, what's the difference? That's like September to February. I think September was Toronto, where eventually we sold it to Miramax for North America, so we made all this money.
This was before.
Oh, I know. Well, probably not. But.
And then, like 4 months later, we were on the road. Then we were like all on the road, Adrian, Bob, and me, the whole time plugging this movie.
Yeah,
and to sit in a theater and watch people watch this movie. I hadn't seen a movie like this before. Do you know what I mean? I just hadn't seen a construction or, this kind of a story. The focus being put on this little slice of life, what have you.
Sure.
And audiences just really enjoyed the experience of this film. I mean, they were totally given over, totally suspended, and genuinely, you could tell they enjoyed the film.
Well, that's why it was just the timing of when these, and maybe the film was ready, the first one, Unbelievable Truth, was ready just a little bit earlier than the wave that was coming, where all of a sudden audiences were ready for. I think
we were definitely riding the wave.
So I think that you were fortunate in that way that audiences were now ready for these, as Bob just called them, more of the slice of life, these independent films. They're an alternative to the big budget film. Now all of a sudden it was a real thing, and there was real distribution and real financing and real. I mean, it was a short window, but you rode that wave through that, at least with your first handful of films, through that particular timing. So it's
by the time we made Simple Men, it was really great. I mean, they hadn't stopped. I mean, we shot The Unbelievable Truth in. I just it's all a blur to me. I just see all these faces. I just remember Jerry's office on 39th Street, and just like people coming off that elevator, and it's for like 4 years. From the summer of 1988, we prepared The Unbelievable Truth and shot it in the fall to 1991 when we were Houston shooting Simple Man. It was just like nonstop.
Mhm.
But Simple Man, we like had it was like $1 million budget. But I mean, for us, it was like, wow, this is great. We've got real gear. We got dolly track.
Yeah,
all this
big
stuff.
shots now.
We're staying in hotels, and we just were on our game. We were all, Mike Spiller had improved his game. Frank Stubblefield, Jeff, the sound recordist.
You
us,
think of a lot of those
Just
people
really-
who were colleagues of ours, in front of or behind the camera, and who sustained this,
Mhm.
quality of work, luck and talent and ethic combined, that just went on to have very, very, good, solid careers.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, you guys too. You guys are always working. What do you guys?
Well, we're working on Simple Man 2. Return of Simple Man.
Simpler Men.
Simpler Man.
See, I'll give you your titles.
Much, 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 much simpler.
They're in a retirement home there.
Simpler, grayer men.
And Bill's trying to. He wants to rob a bank.
Oh my god.
An elderly geriatric kind of like bank
We
robbery.
prorate some of the lines to like $280,000. What are you going to do with $280,000? Sorry.
Now, what are you working on? Yeah.
In the theaters,
Might
or
wanna plug.
maybe not in the theaters, Black Klansman with Spike Lee
Oh yeah,
just came
that's
out.
right.
That's
Great.
Spike has
that's
just
right.
been very, very. It's nice to meet his Hamlet. It's great to work with him, because actually he reminds me of Hal. You're there and you want to serve this story.
Mhm.
You're not there about, well, my no. Tell me about what you're doing in context to serving this story, and then we'll proceed from there. And that's the way he is,
Mhm.
and I love that. And then a thing called Project Blue Book for History Channel is coming, and then there's a pilot called Erase
Mhm.
that Dennis Leary developed with USA. And we're waiting to hear if that thing gets the green light.
As it were. I got nothing.
I don't believe that.
I'm going to be working security at the Springsteen concert.
Wednesday
nights,
ask for Bill.
I've been shot a couple indies with some young, up and coming, some of the young directors, which is interesting. They're doing a whole different thing, and a couple seasons of Power
Mhm.
and Orange Is the New Black, and both of us.
What was your role in Orange Is the New Black? You were on the last season?
Governor of
How
New
did-
York.
Governor Bill Sage. Well, I'm sorry I felt... I should have to catch up with that then. I'd love to see you in that. Hal, what do you got in the pipeline? You've got this Long Island trilogy coming out.
Yeah, there's
This
a
is
lot
like
of, there's a lot of this old, bringing out the old films again in a nicer form. That's a
Yeah.
lot of work. But newer work, I'm finishing a script right now called Where to Land. It's a feature. Yeah, I've been-
You've written... It's written? Is that what you're saying?
It's, I would say, about 50% written.
Uh-huh.
And I'm talking to some people about that, about money. I spend a lot of time talking to people about money.
Yeah, well...
And I've worked for a couple of years developing a TV series, which was optioned and then passed on and whatever. So I've been, trying to make TV.
Mhm. I know.
And,
That's why I was surprised when you said
yeah, so but I was very surprised to meet these younger producers who were like, were interested in like making a feature film with you. I'm like, wow, I haven't heard that in a while. That's okay.
They came to you and they had did they have the idea, or are you saying they wanted to produce
they
something
just
you
asked
wrote?
me what I was.
They want to produce it
What
for
I
you?
had. So I have like
that-
6. Well, they want to finance it. I mean, they want to go out and find the money.
Oh, that's
for
producing, I guess.
Me and my gang will produce it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I have 6 or 7 feature things which I'd love to direct, but I gave them all to them. But some of them are just beyond their means, I think. But I'm kind of interested in this new one, Where to Land.
Cool.
I did produce a film in May,
Uh-huh.
which was the first time I'd done that.
You produced a film?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I just helped to raise money, and it's called The Catch, and it's one of these young directors,
Uh-huh.
and I'm in it, and it's we shot it up in Massachusetts.
Uh-huh.
It's about lobster fishing, and in this working class family that's sort of getting pushed out.
Hmm.
Big business.
Who's the director?
Matthew Balser.
Okay.
He came out of Columbia University.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Otherwise, I'm working on my will.
Please.
This is hilarious. Which is why I'm writing the screenplay too. Is kind of about a guy who is writing his will, and his hysterical girlfriend, actress, hysterical, thinks he's dying, and starts a rumor that he's dying.
It's kind of a comedy of errors going on there.
Yeah,
A little
I
bit?
think strangely, I keep going back to Theory of Achievement. So it's like that. It's like a whole community of people in a couple of rooms, misunderstanding each other,
Mhm.
quoting. But it's that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I'm having fun with that. That's what I pay the bills otherwise. That's what I do.
When was the last time you guys were together?
In the same room?
Yeah.
When we did a similar thing at the Museum of the Moving Image.
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. They're doing a screening, I guess, of Simple Men.
Yeah,
I
David
guess.
Schwartz over there wanted
Yeah,
to show
one of your
Simple Men. So,
another alum, right?
Bill was there the night before with
Mhm.
We Are.
We are.
Right,
yeah.
right. We
Which
are,
was
yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
What
Thank
a
you.
great movie.
We
Great performance.
yeah. And David being another alum of SUNY Purchase,
SUNY Purchase,
right?
yeah.
Did he overlap with the? I guess what's the? I'm curious. Did he?
He was a year ahead of me. So
Okay.
he was class
Right.
of
So you knew him from there.
83.
Okay.
I was going to say 53. Oh, it's the whole century is like
Class of 53.
Oh, yeah.
He is retiring
Yeah,
after like
it's about that time.
30 some odd years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What's that?
David is
He
going
is?
to retire from.
He
And
is.
the next time we'll be together, I'll be 88. I'm like,
At this pace. Well, I'm sure you'll be around and still
We were here for
look great.
after Net Rifle. You had a little party, right?
We did. Before.
Oh, before we shot it.
Oh yeah,
Did
we
you
had
come
that
to
party downtown in the across.
Were you
the street.
invited? You might. You
No.
may be.
I was.
Well, he lives out in Long Island.
No, I was invited. Oh, I was invited.
No, that would be the last time we were together was at the museum,
Yeah.
and it was a great evening, and
It was a Bill Sage then and now.
it was great.
Yeah.
Well deserved. You know. Thank you guys. Was that?
Thank you very much.
Do you think that was
Mr. Sharp.
that was okay?
You've got like hours and hours of stuff.
I know,
You've
I
just talked
know.
to Edie, Karen, us,
Wow.
Martin Donovan.
Martin Donovan.
What else could we talk about? Have you applied for your AARP card? That's it.
You guys look great. I just want to let people know they look almost exactly the same as you guys looked back in the
Handsome.
Simple Men.
Handsome,
Yeah,
Bob.
exactly. Time has been very generous to you guys.
It's all smoke and mirrors. Lots of smoke.
Okay, thank you,
Anyway,
Adam.
yeah. Thank you guys.